Heartland fans, hold on tight because everything is about to change. After years of heartbreak, silence, and unanswered prayers, the moment we never thought we'd see has finally arrived. Borden is back. Yes, Ty the healer, the fighter, the soul of Heartland, has returned to the ranch that shaped him, to the people who never stopped loving him, and to the woman whose heart still beats for him, even after all this time. But this isn't just a reunion, it's an emotional reckoning. As Ty steps back onto the land where it all began, he finds a world both familiar and foreign. Memories echo through every corner of the ranch, but so does the weight of everything that's been lost. Amy, still haunted by his absence, now faces a tidal wave of emotion, shock, hope, heartbreak, and love all crashing at once. Their connection never truly died, but can it survive the scars of time? And what about Lindy? Jack? Lou? The entire Heartland family must grapple with a future rewritten by a past they thought was gone forever. Is Ty's return a second chance at the life he was meant to live, or a painful reminder that some things can never be the same? This is not just a comeback. It's the beginning of a story that will break you and heal you. In this episode, we dive deep into Ty's emotional return, a journey of love, loyalty, healing, and rediscovery. As the ranch comes alive with familiar faces and unexpected truths, Ty must confront not only the ghosts of his past, but the new realities of a life that kept moving even when he was gone. In his absence, Amy has developed close friendships with Caleb and Nathan, which leaves Ty feeling a pang of jealousy. While he understands that Amy still cares deeply for him, seeing her grow close to both men is difficult. This isn't just about jealousy, it's a moment of reckoning, as he confronts the impact his absence has had on his family and friends. With Caleb and Nathan stepping into roles he once filled, Ty finds himself navigating a complex mix of emotions he wasn't prepared for. This episode delves deeply into Ty's subtle inner conflict as he wrestles with disruptive emotions that challenge his sense of identity and place. Ty Borden has always been a rock-strong, steady, and fiercely loyal. A man whose quiet strength spoke louder than words. But now, as he settles back into the rhythm of Heartland, he's met with a subtle shift in the world he once knew so well. Something feels off. Not wrong exactly, but different. And at the center of that difference is Amy. More specifically, the presence of Caleb and Nathan, two men who, in Ty's absence, have grown closer to her in ways he never anticipated. At first, Ty tries to dismiss it as nothing more than a passing observation. But as the days go on, that quiet unease starts to settle deeper in his chest. It isn't jealousy, not in the typical sense. It's something far more painful. It's the realization that time hasn't stood still in his absence. Life at Heartland moved forward, and Amy, like everyone else, had to keep living, had to find comfort, support, and familiarity where she could. And in doing so, she formed bonds that Ty was no longer a part of. Watching Amy laugh freely with Caleb, seeing the way she confides in Nathan without hesitation, it shakes Ty in ways he didn't expect. Caleb has always been her friend, someone he once trusted without hesitation. But now that dynamic feels layered with something more. Caleb's easy charm and long-standing connection to Amy make Ty question just how much has changed between them. And then there's Nathan, calm, dependable, always just a step behind Amy, offering support without needing to be asked. Ty can't help but notice how seamlessly Nathan fits into her world, like he belongs there. As much as Ty tries to feel joy in Amy's happiness, there's an ache he can't ignore. It's not just that others have stepped into roles he once held, it's that Amy let them. Not out of betrayal, but out of necessity, out of survival. And now, Ty finds himself grappling with a question he never thought he'd have to ask. Where does he fit in Amy's life now? His return was meant to be a beautiful reunion, a long-awaited moment of healing. And for a time, it was. But the initial glow is fading, revealing a far more complex reality, one where Ty isn't automatically at the center of Amy's world anymore. He's no longer the only one who knows her favorite trail ride, the way she takes her coffee, or the unspoken signals in her eyes. Caleb and Nathan have picked up those pieces, not out of competition, but out of care. And Ty, once so confident in his place beside her, now feels like a stranger looking in through a window he used to call home. This growing sense of disconnection begins to quietly unravel Ty's soul. For so long, he clung to the belief that love, true, unwavering love, could survive anything. That if his heart never stopped beating for Amy, then somehow, some way, they'd find their way back to each other. But now, as he moves through the familiar paths of the ranch and watches Amy navigate life without him, a haunting question begins to take shape. What if love alone isn't enough? What if relationships are built not just on love, but on presence, on shared breakfasts, whispered conversations at night, quiet glances during chores, and the laughter echoing through the barn during life's ordinary moments? What if time, more than love, is the true foundation of closeness? It's a heartbreaking realization, one that strikes him deeper than he expected. The life he longed for, the home he envisioned returning to, has evolved in his absence. It hasn't waited for him. It's grown, changed, adapted, and so has Amy. He sees it in the way she moves stronger, more independent, more grounded in a rhythm that no longer includes him. No matter how fiercely his heart beats for her, no matter how much he aches to make up for lost time, Ty can't erase the years he missed. And now, as he stands on the porch of the house they once dreamed of filling with memories, he wonders, can a man return to a life that has learned to live without him? Or has the heart of Heartland slowly redefined itself without his presence in it? Every day brings subtle reminders, unspoken moments that cut deep. When he watches Amy and Caleb tending the horses together, it stirs something sharp in his chest. Caleb has always been around, but now his presence feels different. It's steady, familiar, comforting to Amy in a way that Ty hasn't been able to replicate since returning. The ease in their teamwork, the way they finish each other's thoughts, the laughter they share, these small, quiet details eat away at Ty's confidence. Caleb was there when Ty couldn't be, and now he occupies a space in Amy's life that Ty struggles to reclaim. Even when Ty tries to brush it off, he can't ignore the gnawing feeling that Caleb understands Amy's world now in ways Ty no longer does. He sees it in Amy's smile, the one she wears when she looks at Caleb, not out of romance, but out of shared experience. And somehow, that cuts even deeper. Then there's Nathan. A quieter presence, but no less significant. Ty watches how Nathan listens when Amy talks, how he offers quiet reassurance without overstepping, how he seems to know when she needs silence more than words. Their connection isn't loud. It's subtle, grounded, intimate in a different kind of way. Nathan doesn't try to fill the role Ty left behind, but he's there. Constant, trusted, a steady hand through the chaos of Amy's life. And that's what hurts the most. Ty begins to see the layers of Amy's world that he was no longer part of, the milestones he missed, the struggles she carried alone, the quiet strength she built with others while trying to survive the pain of losing him. These are the parts of her story he wasn't present for, and now they belong to Caleb and Nathan in ways they don't belong to him. With each passing day, Ty feels more like a visitor in the life he once knew so well. He's surrounded by memories, but haunted by the new ones that were made without him. The weight of absence presses heavily on his chest, not just for the time lost, but for the spaces others now fill. Spaces he once believed only he could occupy. And now, as he tries to find his place again, one question lingers louder than the rest. Is love enough to rebuild what time has quietly taken away? It serves as a painful reminder of the time he lost, leaving him feeling out of sync with her life. These quiet reflections stir questions in Ty's heart. Will he ever truly catch up? Can he reclaim the closeness he once had with Amy? The weight of this thought casts a shadow over the joy of being home. It's more than jealousy, it's rooted in Ty's fear of losing the deep connection he's always treasured with Amy. As he continues to observe her relationships with Caleb and Nathan, he begins to understand just how deeply woven these friendships are into her life. Ty and Caleb share more than just a working relationship. They share a brotherhood forged through years of sweat, struggle, and quiet understanding on the ranch. They've ridden side by side, weathered storms, and held each other up through Heartland's darkest days. Caleb has always been a friend Ty could count on, loyal, hardworking, and deeply rooted in the same values they both hold dear. But now, something about that friendship feels different. Ty watches as Caleb and Amy move together with a kind of ease that's almost poetic, two people who understand each other without the need for words. Where Ty once felt reassured by Caleb's loyalty, he now feels something far more unsettling: distance. Not between himself and Caleb, but between himself and Amy. It's in the way Caleb instinctively knows when Amy needs help without her asking, the way they finish each other's sentences, laugh at memories Ty wasn't a part of, and share silent glances that carry the weight of years spent side by side while Ty was gone. Ty had always imagined that his return would mean picking up where they left off, that the love he and Amy shared would be untouched by time. But reality has carved a different path. Now he wonders if Caleb didn't just support Amy during difficult times, he became her rock, her confidant, maybe even her safe place. And though Ty doesn't believe Amy ever stopped loving him, the closeness she shares with Caleb speaks volumes about the spaces he left behind and who filled them. It's not betrayal, it's time. And it's the cruel way time keeps moving, even when hearts are standing still. Then there's Nathan. Unlike Caleb, Nathan doesn't share a long history with Amy, but that doesn't make their bond any less meaningful. In many ways, it's the freshness of their connection that unsettles to the most. Nathan brings something new into Amy's world, a quiet, steady presence that doesn't try to compete with the past. He simply is. He listens. He understands. And he offers a kind of emotional stability that Ty, in his absence, couldn't provide. Ty sees how Nathan has carved a place for himself, not just in Amy's routine, but in her sense of peace. The way she smiles around him, not because of shared history, but because of shared comfort, cuts deeper than Ty expected. It makes him question if the emotional intimacy he once had with Amy has been quietly replaced by these new connections. Not all at once, but slowly, softly, moment by moment. Ty begins to feel as though he's watching Amy's life from the outside, a spectator to a chapter he wasn't part of. Every shared joke between Amy and Caleb, every moment of quiet understanding between her and Nathan is a reminder of what he missed. The grand milestones, yes, but more painfully, the small, quiet moments, the ones that build trust, the ones that build love. What hurts most isn't the thought that Amy moved on. It's the fear that maybe, in some ways, she had to. That she found comfort elsewhere when he couldn't be there. And Ty, who has always worn strength like a second skin, suddenly finds himself exposed in a way he never anticipated. Vulnerable, uncertain, shaken. The jealousy creeping into Ty's heart isn't loud. It doesn't arrive like a storm. It seeps in like a cold wind under a closed door, quiet and persistent. It disguises itself in glances, in silent pauses, in the ache that curls around his chest when he watches Amy share a laugh with Caleb or finds her in deep conversation with Nathan. It's not rage, it's restraint. It's that bitter inward question whispered late at night when no one's listening, am I still her person? Because being her partner was never just about love. It was about knowing her soul, reading her silence, being the one she turned to without hesitation. And now, Ty's no longer sure he holds that place. The thought is terrifying, unbearable. He's never had to question it until now. For the first time, Ty is forced to confront a truth he's been too afraid to name. What if Amy didn't stop loving him, but was simply forced to move forward without him? Life didn't wait. Time didn't pause. And in the emptiness he left behind, Caleb and Nathan stepped in, not to replace him, but to help Amy survive, to help her breathe again. And slowly, they became a part of her rhythm, her world. That thought haunts Ty like a shadow, quiet, but always there. It follows him through the stables, into the kitchen, through every inch of the ranch that once felt like home. It blurs the lines between memory and reality, making him question not just his place beside Amy, but his role in everything within the family, the ranch, and even within himself. What once defined him, his unwavering loyalty, his deep love, his grounded presence, now feels shaken. He tries to convince himself that Caleb and Nathan are just pieces of a puzzle that were meant to be temporary, that they only filled the space when he couldn't. But the way Amy interacts with them, the comfort, the trust, it makes him doubt. Not her love, but the strength of the bridge that once connected them. Has it weakened? Has it broken? And slowly, doubt turns into obsession. He replays moments from the past, like fragile tapes, Amy's laughter, their long rides, the promises whispered under stars. He clings to those memories because he fears that's all he has left. And each time he sees Amy share a moment with someone else, it chips away at that fragile hope inside him. What if those memories are no longer enough to carry them forward? The emotional weight begins to spill into his everyday life. Ty, once calm and composed, finds himself on edge, snapping over little things, losing patience, retreating into silence. He masks it as fatigue, as stress, but the truth is far more complex. It's not anger, it's fear. It's regret. It's the quiet realization that rebuilding what was lost might be harder than he ever imagined. And in that fear, something else begins to unravel himself. He doesn't recognize this version of himself. This man who second-guesses his place, who watches from the sidelines as others comfort the woman he loves. This man who fears that, despite surviving the unimaginable, he may have returned to a life that no longer has space for him. And worst of all, Ty starts to fear that his silence, his attempt to carry the weight alone, might fracture not only his bond with Amy, but with Caleb and Nathan too. Because no matter how much he tries to hide it, tension is building. Unspoken words fill the space between them, and every smile feels slightly strained. Caleb's kindness begins to feel like pity. Nathan's calmness, a reminder of what Ty missed. In the quiet moments when the ranch is still, and Lindy is asleep, and Amy is sitting just a little too far away, Ty's mind drifts to all the what-ifs. What if he had never left? What if he had been there to hold Amy through her darkest nights? What if he's too late? These thoughts crush him. They strip away the armor he built over the years, leaving him exposed, vulnerable, and uncertain of who he is now. And that's the scariest part. He's not just afraid of losing Amy. He's afraid of losing himself. And as this emotional storm builds, Ty realizes he can't keep it inside much longer. The facade is cracking. The weight is becoming too much. And if he doesn't face these feelings, if he doesn't find the courage to speak his truth, the very relationships he treasures most could begin to slip through his fingers. Because sometimes, the hardest battle isn't the one fought out loud. It's the silent war waged inside the heart. He feels confused and dismissed, unable to shake the sense that his place in Amy's life isn't as secure as it once seemed. That tension finally boils over when Ty sees Caleb and Amy working closely together, laughing, sharing a connection that he believes should belong to him. In a moment of intense frustration, Ty decides to confront Caleb. His words come out harsher than he intended as his emotions finally overflow. Caleb, for overstepping boundaries and getting too close to Amy, is surprised when his role in her life is questioned. Caleb defends himself, explaining that he has only been there for Amy as a companion, filling the void while Ty was away. However, Ty's jealousy clouds his judgment, making it difficult for him to see Caleb's intentions as genuine. This confrontation leaves both men hurt and misunderstood, with Caleb struggling to understand why Ty would accuse him of something he would never do. The tension affects not only Ty and Caleb's friendship, but also the overall atmosphere at Heartland. Sensing the hostility, Amy steps in, trying to calm Ty and explain the importance of her friendship with Caleb. She reminds Ty of how Caleb supported her through tough times, emphasizing the need for trust and understanding in their relationship. As Amy explains how both Caleb and Nathan have helped her through difficult moments, Ty feels even more conflicted. Despite Caleb's good intentions, Ty's absence left a void that others naturally stepped in to fill. Ty's jealousy also begins to impact his relationship with Nathan. Although Nathan has never tried to come between Ty and Amy, Ty can't help but feel threatened by the quiet bond Nathan shares with her. As his frustration builds, it leads to an awkward and tense conversation with Nathan. Sensing Ty's jealousy, Nathan tries to reassure him, emphasizing that his friendship with Amy is purely platonic. But Ty's insecurities run deep, making it hard for him to fully trust Nathan's words. For Ty, the conflict isn't really about Nathan, it's about the role Nathan has played in Amy's life, a role Ty wishes he could have filled himself. This internal struggle leaves Ty feeling lost and questioning his own worth. He realizes that his jealousy is starting to push people away, including Amy. The confrontations with Caleb and Nathan serve as a wake-up call, forcing Ty to face the fact that his insecurities are damaging the very relationships he holds dear. Following these emotional exchanges, Ty begins to understand the impact of his actions. The jealousy that once clouded his mind becomes clearer, revealing that his emotions stem from deep-seated insecurities rather than any wrongdoing on Caleb or Nathan's part. Ty finally begins to see what he's been avoiding all along: the truth that his absence left more than just a physical void in Amy's life. It left an emotional one, too. And though no one ever tried to take his place, others stepped in out of necessity, out of love, and out of loyalty to Amy. Caleb and Nathan weren't trying to replace him, they were trying to support her. And that realization hits Ty with a quiet but powerful wave of humility. For so long, he had been caught in the storm of his own insecurities, trapped in silent questions about where he belonged and whether there was still space for him in the life he once called his own. But now, as he reflects on the emotional distance that's crept in, he begins to understand something deeper. This was never truly about Caleb or Nathan. It was about him, his fear, his guilt, his need to feel needed again. In a rare moment of clarity, Ty understands that to rebuild what he had with Amy, to truly reconnect on the level they once shared, he must face the hard truths within himself. He has to stop hiding behind quiet resentment and start being vulnerable. The longer he bottles up these feelings, the more space he creates between himself and those he loves. And he's done losing time. With his heart pounding and a storm of uncertainty still flickering in his chest, Ty makes a choice, one that takes every ounce of courage he has left. He chooses honesty. Not the kind that comes easy, but the kind that strips you bare, that leaves you trembling in your truth. And as fate would have it, he finds Amy alone in the barn, the same sacred place that holds their laughter, their tears, and the promises they once whispered into the dust and the dusk. The late afternoon sun pours through the open barn doors, casting golden light across the hay-strewn floor. It's warm, quiet, timeless, a space where their history lives and breathes. Ty walks toward her with quiet steps, and when he asks if they can talk, his voice is soft, but there's weight in it. This time, he means really talk. No more hiding. No more pretending. They sit side by side on a familiar hay bale, the silence between them thick with unspoken emotion. Then, with eyes that won't quite meet hers yet, Ty begins. His voice doesn't tremble, but every word is laced with something raw. He opens his heart in a way he hasn't in years. He tells her about the ache of returning to a world that moved on without him, the hollow feeling of standing in rooms that once felt like home, but now seem foreign. He admits, his voice low and thick with emotion, that he's been haunted by jealousy. Not rage, not bitterness, but a quiet, aching doubt that settled in every time he saw Amy sharing an effortless smile with Caleb or a moment of still understanding with Nathan. He confesses not because he doubts her love, but because he no longer trusts the man he sees in the mirror. His absence left a void he fears he may never be able to fill. Amy listens, not just with her ears, but with her whole heart. Her eyes never leave him. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't interrupt. She simply lets him unravel, lets him place every piece of himself, messy, vulnerable, wounded, into the space between them. And when he finishes, she reaches for his hand. Her grip is firm, steady, like the ground he's been searching for. What she says next melts every fear he's carried in silence. She tells him that yes, Caleb and Nathan were there. They stood beside her when she needed strength. They helped. They cared, but they were never him. There's a part of her heart, she says, that only Ty has ever touched. A corner of her soul that belongs to him and him alone. It was never about who filled the silence. It was about who she was always waiting for. And that was Ty. It's always been Ty. To Amy, his return isn't just a reunion. It's the rekindling of something sacred. His presence grounds her. His love, steady, fierce, and patient, isn't something that can be replaced. It never could be. Caleb and Nathan offered companionship in his absence, but he is her anchor, her other half, the love that never left, even when he did. In that quiet barn, surrounded by echoes of the past and the glow of the present, something inside Ty breaks open and then begins to heal. For the first time since he returned, he doesn't feel like a shadow of who he used to be. He feels seen. He feels understood. And most of all, he feels loved. Not out of nostalgia or memory, but in the here and now for everything he is and everything he's becoming. With a lighter heart, Ty knows what he has to do next. He seeks out Caleb and Nathan not out of guilt, but out of respect. Separately, away from the noise of the ranch, he meets them with quiet sincerity. He offers an apology not for being emotional, but for keeping them at arm's length. He speaks openly about the fears that clouded his judgment and the insecurities that twisted his perspective. Caleb, ever the loyal friend, claps Ty on the shoulder with a smile that speaks volumes. "You're back, man." That's all that matters. Nathan, calm and wise, nods with the kind of quiet strength T has come to appreciate. "You were never replaced," he says. "We just kept the fire going until you made it home." In those words, Ty finds peace. Not just acceptance, but a new kind of brotherhood, one built on shared love, not silent rivalry. And in that moment, Ty finally understands reclaiming his place at Heartland isn't about erasing the past or forcing things to go back to how they were. It's about moving forward together. It's about letting love evolve, letting it stretch and breathe and deepen in ways he never imagined. The weight he's carried for so long begins to lift, replaced by something far more powerful: clarity, gratitude, purpose. And as Ty embraces this new chapter, he does so with a heart free from doubt. He no longer fears being replaced. Instead, he honors the strength it took Amy to survive without him and the grace of the men who stood beside her when he couldn't. His journey, once filled with jealousy and uncertainty, has become a quiet testimony of growth, healing, and emotional bravery. In learning to speak his truth, Ty doesn't just find his way back to Amy. He finds his way back to himself. This chapter of Ty's life allows him to shed the burdens of the past, emerging with a deeper understanding of himself and of the people who stood by Amy's side during his absence. As he moves forward, Ty feels more grateful than ever for the friendships Caleb and Nathan provided not just to Amy, but to him as well. He now understands that Heartland is more than just a place, it is a family of individuals who support one another through life's ups and downs. The jealousy he once felt transforms into respect and appreciation for the roles Caleb and Nathan played in keeping Amy strong. Rather than viewing them as threats, Ty now sees them as valued friends who helped hold the family together when he couldn't be there. His journey serves as a reminder that relationships evolve and grow, and that the most meaningful connections can endure even the toughest challenges. As he and Amy look toward the future, they do so with a renewed commitment to one another, grounded in honesty and trust. Ty is no longer burdened by the moments he missed or the bonds formed in his absence. Instead, he stands stronger, grounded in the unshakable love that still surrounds him at Heartland. The pain, the doubt, the jealousy, they've all given way to something more powerful: healing, forgiveness, and a deeper understanding of what it truly means to come home. And there you have it, Heartland fans. Ty's journey has come full circle, not just as a partner to Amy, but as a man willing to confront his deepest fears and rise above them. Through heartbreak and growth, he's discovered that family isn't defined by perfect timing, but by the courage to keep showing up with honesty, with vulnerability, and with love. Standing beside Amy now, hearts finally beating in sync again, Ty isn't just reclaiming his place in her life, he's rediscovering the very soul of who he is. This isn't just a return, it's a rebirth, a healing, a love story rewritten with deeper roots and stronger wings. And in that quiet embrace beneath the Heartland sky, we're reminded that true love doesn't fade, it endures, it transforms, and it finds its way home. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for walking through this emotional journey with me. Your passion, your memories, your love for Ty, Amy, and everything Heartland stands for, that's what keeps this story alive long after the credits roll. If this story moved you, inspired you, or even brought a tear to your eye, please consider liking the video, sharing it with a fellow Heartland fan, and dropping your favorite Ty and Amy moment in the comments below. Let's celebrate this beautiful bond together. Until we meet again, stay hopeful, stay strong, and hold tight to the things that matter most: love, family, and the courage to start again. Because here at Heartland, the story is far from over.